Alright, so we're going to do a little test pilot video today um, for a little channel that's going to be based on cooking and drawing. It's going to be very impromptu, this one today, mostly because I need to practice video editing and just get a couple basic things kind of mapped out for myself so that going forward I can kind of figure this out. I was at work all day, so obviously the cooking part of this channel is going to be geared to basically people that work a lot, don't have a lot of time, still when they get home want to eat something healthy, quick, within a good budget or whatever, and have it be still very enjoyable and still very good quality, at least up to par with what you could get and man, if you're in the United States, and better than most restaurants, let's put it that way. This being impromptu, and me being half Italian and half Serbian, I'm going to be making some pasta because I like to eat a lot of pasta. I'm going to make dough for a couple days, so we're going to ballpark maybe 175 grams, 200 grams a day by 3, 600-ish or so batch. Maybe a little less. I'm actually going to do quite a bit less. We're going to do 250 flour to start. Yeah, going forward, I'll definitely have a more written out, mapped out kind of thing. Basically, I mean, I'll be posting some stuff, just another video going forward, because I'm an avid YouTube watcher and have been since YouTube came out. I don't do TV. I've never really done TV too much, and I like watching other people do what they're best at. I mean, people have posted such cool stuff. I can't even tell you how much I've enjoyed that over the years. And I'll probably give shout outs to a good variety of channels, while I'm cooking and talking. Yeah, I thought it was probably high time to start a small channel just to have some fun actually on the side as well. Something I should have probably done several years ago when I used to own a restaurant up in the Pacific Northwest in Seattle. And I think when I had the house up there and whatnot, I should have really geared an outdoor, do-it-yourself, backyard garden cooking show. It would have been fun. And yeah, of course, life takes different turns. So, this will be primarily focused on cooking and drawing, as I said, and I'll post a video that's going to be geared toward the ambulance build-out portion of really why this is kind of all coming into play in my life in the first place, is really to sort of get some of the art out there that I can sort of have a platform to be able to sell a few drawings in order to fund an ambulance build out. I'm definitely an off-gridder, van lifer, even though I'm not off-grid right now. I was for several years and really love that lifestyle. Actually had no problem acclimating from city to off-grid. Just a little bit of preparation and was very happy. That being said, I'm still an avid van lifer. I did pick up a 91 E350 Econoline ambulance not too long ago, and ended up converting. Most of the back is all done already. I stripped it out, re-insulated, and got a bunch of stuff done, and it's more or less set up, maybe 80%, 75%, I guess, if I'm going to include some 5% of stuff that I'd like to get on the done on the engine and whatnot. And so coming up soon, I'm going to make a video with a slideshow just kind of explaining everything about the little build out and why I would like to just be able to generate a little bit of extra income on the side, because I do work full time as a professional cook, and I've been a professional cook slash chef, or whatever you want to call it, for years. That's pretty much all I've ever done, 20 some years. So you'll get good advice. It'll be sound, simple, simple tools. As you can see, it's set up in a very no frills type of atmosphere. You're not going to see a studio here. It's going to be the kitchen counter, and that's it. Because that's all you really need, obviously, at home. If you're going to have the same thing, why am I going to bother dressing this up, I suppose, in the meantime? Yeah, because I'm not into the theater, I suppose it'll just be kind of more cut and dry. Anyway, so let's make some pasta and then make some dinner because I'm hungry. All right, simple things. I'm going to do pasta, sardines, or pasta with sardines, rapini, a little bit of onion, garlic, and we'll see what else we're going to work in there. Pasta, I think I'm just going to do water, olive oil, salt for tonight. Plus, it'll just hold better over the next couple days. And I'll just eat a chunk today and a chunk tomorrow. That's kind of how I like to work my weekly planning on what I eat for myself anyway. I kind of buy vegetables to last me for the week, so I don't have to go out while I'm working, because that's the last thing I want to do when I get home. So I eat a lot of vegetables. Important. Diet, very important. Don't ever underestimate that, and we'll probably talk much more about that in future little installments. For this episode, you'll probably just see a lot of focus on this counter because, like I said, I'm just getting used to this, and I didn't really have a plan for today. I just wanted to take my mind off of work, as you might all well understand. And for me, cooking is always such a good way to take your mind off of whatever, such a meditative process. Don't be intimidated by it, watch. Important thing is to always watch. I'll be recommending some good YouTube channels for whatever that I've learned so much from, and you all can too. So about 250 grams of flour. Man, I think, what am I going to start with water? Not very much. I don't really have a pasta recipe. I'm just going to kind of wing it. I think 100 grams is going to be more than enough. A little olive oil. I haven't used this mixer in a little bit. I don't think it's very different from the ones that I use at work. It's just a little bit smaller. I don't need a lot of dough. I may just kind of work this till it comes together and then finish it either on the board or on the table. And then we'll take it from there. Hopefully this isn't going to take too long because I am hungry. A little bit of salt. Sardines that I really like to use. Oh man, Matis Gallego, Angelo Parodi, the Minerva, Rugen Fish Kipper Snacks. I kind of prefer this particular, the Arenque, that are kind of drier. I don't kind of get down with the super mushy herring, although every now and then I will. Ortiz sardines. Mostly I try and gravitate toward Mediterranean and Atlantic in olive oil. I'll throw in some salmon every now and then. It should be mentioned that I am not a pescatarian, but whatever. I eat fish, mostly canned sardines, canned mackerel, every now and then some salmon, and every now and then when I'm eating out, I'll eat some fish. I gave up meat several years ago. Pork probably 6 or 7, and then the rest of it, a few years ago. No complaints actually at all. I find that whatever this little bit of these 3 kind of canned fish that I kind of gravitate towards is fine for the animal protein. And I don't know, maybe eventually I may even phase that out. Otherwise, eggs and cheese, a lot of nuts. Man, I'll eat pistachios at least. Oh man, at least a cup a day. Good protein, a lot of little micronutrients and stuff. And then a lot of dried fruit while I'm kind of whatever snacking later on in bed. I'll have a little bit of that. A good bit of water when I get home. I'm having a nice little Bell's beer that I used to drink back in college when I think Bell's had maybe was a few years in. I guess I graduated in 2000, so it was a little bit ago. And I guess it should also be mentioned on this channel, you'll hear several languages, and we'll talk about art and food and whatever is related to these subjects, wine, etc., etc., just because that's kind of, I don't know, what I find interesting. And since the channel is going to be dedicated to those subjects, we'll kind of stick within those parameters, and down the road, I'm sure I'll expand on a few things here and there. I speak English. Serbian is my second language. Growing up, my father was born over there. My mother was born here. Her side is Italian, so she's first generation U.S. And then my father is, a Serb by birth. And then was fortunate enough to grow up there during the summers with my brother, and I would spend 3 to 4 months of every year before the war broke out hanging out with the grandparents there, which was amazing. And it kind of instills a different perspective and outlook, obviously, when you're sort of growing up multiculturally and have a little experience at home and abroad. And then I also speak Spanish. I lived there for 2 years probably total, and speak a lot of Spanish in kitchens over the last 20 years. I spent 1 year in university in la Universidad de Extremadura. O sea, van a escuchar bastante español en este canal. A mí me encanta español. Pues de España, el castellano puro con el acento español, o mexicano, venezolano, argentino, boludo, a mí me da igual, me encanta. I love the music, the culture, man, the food, the variety, beautiful. And then a little bit of German. So I worked in Germany for 3 years, probably total, maybe a little over that. 2.5 years in Frankfurt, and almost one in Munich. Wonderful place to work as well. Wonderful people. I met over there and learned so much over in Europe. It was great. And then being Italian, obviously, and knowing Spanish and English, I can understand and communicate enough even to get around in Italy without a problem. Watch Italian cooking shows, love it. Italia Squisita, huge shout out, like by far one of my favorites. And then culinary French, I suppose, just because that's my background, classically trained, and so I can kind of get around and maneuver in there without any problems, and understand a lot of, I can watch cooking shows in any of those languages really without the subtitles for the most part, and still know what's going on if it has to do with food. And I can follow along with some Portuguese and whatnot. I love languages. If you want to get around the world and appreciate the people and have them appreciate you in turn, because, learning other languages, other foods, and as much as you can about other cultures, it's that step forward and bridge to them accepting you as well, and knowing that you're really interested in how they do things and why. So important. Anyway, back to dinner. So let's start the pasta dough. Probably actually didn't even need the mixer for this, in all honesty, but as I said, I've been working for about, 9 hours today, so that's enough. Um, I probably need a little more water than I thought, actually. I'll probably edit some of this out, and that'll give me some practice with editing. That's good. Yeah, I haven't done any of this, so this is a whole new ball game for me. So I've got a little bit of a learning curve over the next couple weeks. So, whatever. I'll just post sporadically and kind of not really care for the time being. And then as I sort of improve and move forward, I can sort of dress things up a little bit more. I'm sure everybody that creates this stuff has their own break-in period, I suppose. And I'm not really an AV or electronics guy by trade. I like tools and anything to do with the hands, really. Um, Drawing, ceramics. I mean, my degree is fine arts and art history, so the drawing part of the channel will incorporate some art historical narrative that I think is both interesting and that have kind of changed my view of the world, or sort of awoken different interests than what I was sort of taught in school in some ways. Um, but yeah, I just need to get a little bit of practice of this in, because as I said, as a chef, you just work a ton, so there's not really a whole lot of time on the outside. And then also, having owned a restaurant, you really work a ton when it gets into the ownership aspect, and then that's just a whole different ball of wax. So I'll be happy to answer questions if anybody has any. If they ever post them in the comments, I'm going to try and answer those as much as possible, and sort of do what other channels that I like do, and maintain a little bit of little wet. We're going to work a little more flour in. I like pasta a little on the drier side. It's easier to roll. And obviously cooking is about feel. And so some of you will have more or varying degrees of feel, let's say, depending on how much experience you have cooking. The best advice I can give is to not let it intimidate you, really. When it comes down to it, it's fun. If you're doing it at home, nobody's watching or looking and you're eating it, then practice, get the feel for it. Understand things about temperature, what you're looking for, or what you like as far as texture and whatnot. But when it comes down to the actual just process, simple, well, these aren't simple tools, I should say, because it's not a knife you'll probably see in an everyday kitchen. This one especially, very beautiful knife. Japanese make the best steel. They're expensive, but by that token, worth it. This thing is 20 years old. I can do anything with this knife. You want to Brunoise garlic? Not a problem. Balance, you want your tools, especially if you're going to use them often and want to develop those skills. Don't underestimate good tools. You don't have to splurge like crazy on $1,000 knife, but understand that this thing has lasted me 20 years. I can use this thing for anything, really. Chickens, vegetables, fish, Brunoise garlic, small things. You want to look for, something that you're comfortable with. This is a huge knife that the average person might be a little intimidated by. But by that token, what feels good. Balance, the thickness, the quality of the steel, how easy it is to sharpen if you plan on maintaining it yourself. And I can do a video on that later, actually, stones and whatnot, and how to sharpen. Simple maintenance, really, it goes a long way. Just some good, simple tools, and really you can make great food if you don't, let it kind of, no reason to be intimidated by it. It's fun. And above all, it should be healthy, nourishing. I don't care that I was cooking today for already 9 hours and I'm coming back here to record and goof around for another hour cooking. It doesn't really bother me at all. I also just have a lot of energy, I suppose, so that's probably a different, also different from person to person. How much am I going to eat here? 416. Probably 175, 180. Not bad. So we'll do 180 today for pasta. This is still moister than I'd like, but I'll work a little flour in it while I'm rolling it, or maybe before I roll it, but try not to overwork it. This I'm just going to wrap up for tomorrow. You're going to hear some extra noise in the kitchen while I'm off camera too, just getting stuff. Like I said, I'm in a very simple kitchen. This is, basically a simple apartment style thing. I'm going to have some water boiling over here on the stove that I'm going to start now. And then I have a burner set up on the cutting board that you can obviously see. And I'll just do finishing work over there, and I can heat stuff up on the stove while I'm doing stuff on camera. That's kind of how I geared this little setup to be sort of convenient for me. And then I have a table that tees off of this marble counter that I'm going to use for the drawing portion of the videos. So I'll just kind of wrap this up for tomorrow, get as much of the crevices and whatnot out so it doesn't oxidize too badly. Dough you can totally make and leave in the fridge for a little while without problem. 2 to 4 days. If you start seeing it sort of oxidizing and get really speckly, it's probably best to use it. Otherwise, obviously, it's just best to eat it when you make it, but I'm kind of multitasking. So I have not used this little attachment yet on this machine. It's technically not a KitchenAid, but should work just fine. So, oh, these boards, easy score, $10, Menards, and just oiled up, whatever they are, acacia boards, oiled up like cutting boards with some mineral oil. That's going to be my basic simple kitchen setup for doing stuff here. And then I can get these out of the way and also use this counter for drawing videos as well as cooking or whatever. Or maybe I could take apart a moped engine on here as well. We'll see. You don't want to put a lot of dough through the roller at once. That was probably a little too much, but I just want to flatten it out, to be quite honest, and get a little flour on the outside to dry it out. And I'll just pass it through. Also, I'd normally be resting this dough for a little bit. The chunk in the fridge will rest, but like I said, I am hungry, so this is not going to rest for very long. Pasta is forgiving, which is great. Just a couple little tricks to know, and once you get the feel for it, super simple. You don't want the dough to be too wet because it'll stick to your machine here. So you want to definitely always control the tackiness. Another reason why I like semolina, I just feel like once it absorbs the water, it's just different than using like AP flour and whatnot, even with egg or whatever it is. Semolina also just has a different bite and chew to it when it's cooked, and it's simple, like flour, water, olive oil, salt, simple. And I try and buy at least Italian milled semolina, unless I know it's from a good farm or source, organic, non-GMO, preferably 100%. And I'm also curious to see how the audio actually shows up with this machine running. So we'll see. So when you're working the dough, I'm always holding it with my hand like this, so that I'm not stretching, distorting the dough. It's easy to get in and out of the machine. Important thing to remember with pasta, you want to work with the dough going straight down into the machine. You don't want to feed it on an angle and this kind of stuff. You're just going to get it all bent. And especially if you're doing stuffed pastas, you really want the width of the machine, and it's important to just get it through there. Without having any little hiccups. And then I'm feeling for moisture. I don't want the dough to stick to the wheels, and so I could probably add a tiny bit of flour. And this is where you might actually use a little AP, just because it is typically finer than your semolina, and so it's good for dusting. It'll stick to the flour really well, and it'll help you just get it through the machine efficiently without any hiccups or hang-ups. And then I just adjust the dial accordingly, going down by a number each time. This isn't going to bother me. If you want the edges more square, you can kind of fold it back a little bit and pop it through. But I kind of don't really care. I'm just going to do some quick, simple hand-cut pasta today because, like I said, this is just kind of an impromptu test video. I'll edit it down a little bit. But I also wanted something that was going to be more introductory. And on that note, I suppose I would say dobrodošli to the Serbian viewership out there. Pa eto, svaki dan pričam sa bakom još uvek, je živa, živi u Beogradu, ima već, 96, 97 godina, i ne, mnogo sam srećan bio kad sam bio mali, da sam mogao da letujem tamo u Srbiji i obožavam naš narod, našu hranu, našu kulturu. Mnogo bih volio da se vratim tamo da živim, malo bi lepo bilo, ali ja ne znam da li ću stići to baš stignem da radim, ali ništa. Eto, ja mislim da je ovo onako lepo. I moram da pozdravim baku, jer ću da pošaljem ovaj video jednom drugu, neću ime da mu upotrebljavam u ovom videu, ali ja sam njega upoznao kad sam radio u Seattle, kad sam imao taj restoran, on sigurno, znam da je video moje ime i rekao, mora da je Srbin, jer ime mi je baš, to neće niko da pogreši, mislim. Ako znaju naš narod i naše imena i to, sigurno da znaju da smo iz Balkani. Eto, pastu sam već lepo napravio i sad ću ovo da raseckam i da počne da vri ova voda. Čekam još malo. And I'll wrap things up a little bit and I'll get to the veg prep. I can kind of cut these a little bit. I also talk to myself a lot while I'm cooking, so you'll probably just hear me talking. I'm going to try not to sniffle and do my clearing my throat thing. I am a 30 years, no, not quite 30-year smoker, 20 plus though. So I have obviously that going as far as clearing my throat and whatnot every now and then. That being said, I don't smoke garbage tobacco. If you are going to smoke, I would recommend Peter Stokkeby, best rolling tobacco, and learn how to roll your own. And yeah, I suppose my health, I guess, in some way is balanced out by the diet, because I don't mind taking the time to make sure that my diet is good and make sure that I'm eating plenty of vegetables, fruits, healthy proteins, healthy oils, everything, filtering water, not drinking city water, because I really don't trust much of that stuff. And don't underestimate, how much, whenever I spend a little bit more money up front for the food that I buy and whatnot, but I'm honestly spending way less in terms of medical bills and anything else. I don't do pharmaceuticals. I don't take over-the-counter stuff, almost never, with the exception of melatonin, just because, just trying to get to sleep quickly and stay asleep. Because I basically 6 hours would be enough, but I kind of like to try and hit 7. So I'm waiting for the water to boil. Let me just hop out for a quick cigarette, and then I can edit this out later, and that'll give me some practice. I don't know how much time I'm at.